This is Edward Adu
on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Time for the 9 o'clock debate, and tonight I'm asking, is it right to use sexual history as evidence in court? The decision to use the sexual history of the complainant in the Ched Evans rape trial has sparked a backlash. Campaigners argue that the sexual history of a victim should not be used as evidence in court. They argue this case will set a precedent and make victims scared to come forward and report sexual crimes. Evans was acquitted after a retrial of one count of rape. The jury at Cardiff Crown Court returned a unanimous verdict of not guilty. In 2012, he had been found guilty of the rape of a 19-year-old woman. That conviction was overturned because of new evidence about the woman's sexual history deemed admissible in court, something which has caused confusion and, in some cases, outrage. Well, to debate tonight's debate and the legal issue, on the line is Nicola Mann from Women Against Rape and Mike Buchanan, who's the leader of Justice for Men and Boys political party. Let's kick off with Nicola. Hello, Nicola.
Hi there.
What is wrong with using sexual history as evidence in a trial?
Well, we strongly believe that a woman's sexual history is completely irrelevant to any rape that she's reported that gets to court, because it reminds us of, back in the 1970s when sexual history was allowed in court, women's characters were completely trashed. If a woman had a sex life before she was raped, then it was automatically assumed that she was fair game. It's really, really worrying, especially that this could start setting a precedent of it being used more and more. I mean, we've campaigned for many years to ask for a distinction to be made so that questioning about a woman's relationship with the accused could be allowed with some limitations, but not about her sexual history with any other man, because now, even though the sexual history law has changed slightly, lawyers can use it by saying that a man, knew that you were sexually active with other men and therefore he believed you were consenting to what he did. And that is, again, completely irrelevant to anything that happens to a woman when she's not consenting. When you're raped, you're not consenting regardless of whether you've had consensual sex with 100 men before in your life.
Yes, I totally understand. I mean, why do you think this case will deter victims to come forward?
Well, we think it will deter some victims. I mean, since the Jimmy Savile case broke, reporting of rape has gone up. The conviction rate hasn't gone up. But with this particular case, we were outraged. We've had women, and we've also had men contacting us since as well, because, we can't forget that as well as 85,000 women that are raped each year, so are 12,000 men. And people are very, very concerned that it would appear that in this case, the defendant's wealth and social status enabled him to be fast-tracked through the CCRC. But most people that feel that they're wrongly convicted of a crime have to wait for years to even get to the CCRC and then to an appeal. The fact that there was a £50,000 reward offered for any new evidence after the first trial, and women now can see that if their rapist has a lot more social power and a lot more wealth than them, they can, I'm sorry to say, buy their way into justice. Yeah,
but Nicola, I must say that, Ched Evans is innocent.
Yeah,
and
well,
can I just say that if the evidence... Nicola, let me just explain that if the evidence is required to present the case in Ched's case or in any other cases, don't you think it's relevant to have the evidence in place so that the judge knows exactly what took place on that particular night or day or whenever that the incident occurred?
Well, first of all, we believe in the right to a fair trial for any defendant, whether they've been charged with rape or any other offence. It is really, really important in this country that the defendant gets a right to a fair trial with evidence brought in if it is deemed relevant to the case. But like I've already said, we don't see that sexual history of a woman is relevant. In this particular case, we didn't feel that the fact that she'd had sex with other men in similar positions or phrases that we used were particularly extraordinary.
OK, Nicola, I'm going to bring in Mike Buchanan. Mike, good evening. Thanks for your time.
Good evening.
Why do you think it's right to use sexual history as evidence?
OK. If I may just start off, Edward, by debunking an outright lie that Nicola has just come up with.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
85,000 women are not raped every year. In 2013, fewer than 1,000 men were convicted of rape. So let's just get that clear. Now, to go to the Ched Evans case, the woman's sexual history was a vital component in determining the truth of what happened on the night in question. Ched Evans' testimony referred to certain things that the woman said and did during intercourse, and his description bore strong similarities to the independent testimony of other men who had consensual sex with her. This corroborated his testimony that the sex was consensual, the woman was an active participant, and it demonstrated the value of sexual history in such cases. Now, this had nothing whatever to do with impugning the morals of the woman, but it was key to establishing the truth of what happened. And the miscarriage of justice suffered by Ched Evans strongly supports the inclusion of information on the plaintiff's sexual history in such cases. And just finally, let's remind ourselves that the judge in Ched Evans' retrial was a woman, and most of the jurors were women, but they still reached a verdict of not guilty.
Okay, we're going to focus on the question. We're not going to talk about the sex of who was in the case. I'm going to throw this back to Nicola. Nicola, your thoughts on what Mike said?
Well, the British Crime Survey has shown that 85,000 women report rape every year. I understand what he's saying, that only just over 1,000 men are convicted of rape each year. So do we really believe that 75,000 women and 12,000 men make false reports of rape? False reports of rape make up less than 2% of all reported rape.
I totally understand. It's important, but it's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know, but Mike.
No, but we've got to. We're talking about.
Women do not lie about being raped.
Is it right? Is it right to use sexual history as evidence in court? That's what. I don't know, Nicola. But we've got to stick with the question. We can't divert this and talk about anything else. We've got to talk specifically about this, because that's what we're asking tonight as part of the debate.
Well, the woman in the centre of this case, and I'm sure many other women who have gone to court and had their sexual history divulged to the court and are put on trial themselves. I don't think that it actually has anything to do with whether a woman consents on the night that she says that she was raped, because you can have sex in different positions, you can use different words. It doesn't matter if you've used them 10 times in the past. If you're having sex on a night and then you change your mind and a woman says, no, I don't want to have sex, and she is raped, that is rape. It's completely irrelevant, anything that she's done before. And I think we have so many obstacles to justice already in trying to get justice for women and men that have been raped as children, that are raped where, it doesn't matter when you're raped, but there are so many obstacles to justice anyway that throwing sexual history into the mix again is going to set, the anti-rape movement back years.
Okay, Nicola, I'm going to put this over to Mike. So, Mike, it's an obstacle. You heard what Nicola said. What's your thoughts?
It's just complete nonsense. The woman had no recollection of what happened in the night in question, and yet she's obviously a woman who likes drunken sex. And I might just say that Ched Evans' case was a rare one in which, because of his fame, the case came to the notice of the public. And as I understand it, these two men had sex with her, one before, one after Ched Evans, a week or two after. And these men were presumably confident that they too had the woman's consent. So how else could Ched Evans' innocence have been proven beyond reasonable doubt?
But Mike, rape is rape, and that has to be established, and that's got to be agreed. Rape is rape.
That means no more, Edward, than Brexit is Brexit, quite frankly.
We can't compare Brexit. Sorry, you can't compare Brexit to this. Yeah.
Nicola's organisation, Women Against Rape, coaches women to pervert the course of justice. I have in front of me. Sorry, Mike. Sorry, I've got to backtrack. We can't accept that. Well, I'm about to explain why I'm saying that.
We can't. Sorry, Nicola. Sorry.
Women that contact us week by week have been absolutely traumatised by either sexual abuse as a child, and we've worked with women who were raped as children or young teenagers, and who have been put on trial and have been accused of flirting. Mike, you've just talked about drunken sex, and it's quite interesting actually, because a poll by Amnesty said that a third of people believe that women who flirt were partially responsible for being raped. A quarter of the public believe that drunken women should bear partial responsibility for being raped. And these are myths that are really, really outdated and really frightening. We don't coach women to pervert the course of justice. Women come to us who have had their lives ruined by rape, and then not being believed if they're lucky enough to get to court, and then having their sexual history flaunted in front of the jury perpetuates the myth that, well, if you've had sex before, you're fair game, you would have consented on this time. It's really, really shocking.
Mike, it's about lives being ruined. What's your take on that?
lives being ruined. Huge amounts of men's lives are being ruined. The advice in the self-help guide from Nicola's organisation says this: if you're sure you didn't consent but are unable to remember clearly what happened before you went to sleep, make clear that at the time when the man penetrated you, you were asleep or unconscious and unable to consent. Well, if you can't recall that, then why would you then say that to the police? I mean, this is clearly asking women to pervert the course of justice and ruin men's lives.
Sorry, Nicola. Yes.
If we're going to talk about ruining men's lives, I mean, you're right, Mike. There have been a lot of high-profile celebrity cases that have happened over the course of, I don't know, the last 4 years or so since, again, the Jimmy Savile scandal broke. And I'm not going to name names, but I've seen that the majority of men who were accused, reported, went to trial and were acquitted have... I'm not trivialising anybody that is the victim of a false allegation at all, but their lives have gone back to normal, their careers have...
Their lives have not gone back to normal. How can you say that?
Men's lives don't go back to normal when they're
Mike,
raped.
let Nicola's finish, please.
You know, I mean, I also, you know, if we think back to only a couple of years ago, Frances Andrade, who killed herself after giving evidence in court. OK, her sexual history wasn't brought up in that trial as far as I'm aware, but she was accused of being a fantasist and a liar. She killed herself before she found out that her perpetrator was found guilty and convicted. We see women that have taken their own lives.
Sorry, that's just you're just rolling out fiction after fiction. The woman made false rape allegations
after giving evidence, and he was actually found guilty. But because of the brutal questioning in court was so much for her after what she'd been through as a child and what she'd been through at the hands of this man, she killed herself. So lives are ruined by rape every day, and that's what
she killed herself.
Sorry. Okay. So listen, we seem to be moving away from the question, which is about, you know, is it right to use sexual history as evidence in court? Mike, final word from you.
I cannot see any other way of an innocent man, in this case Ched Evans, having been acquitted. He is legally innocent. The first conviction was clearly a miscarriage of justice, which is why the thing came to retrial. And I can't see another way that his innocence could have been proven.
Mike, thank you very much. Thank you very much to Mike Buchanan, and also thank you very much to Nicola Mann. Now, my job here is to police debate, and I listened to that, and obviously I had to interject at the right moments there, and I had to pull myself back because it's about me being impartial. But this is down to you. You've listened to what Mike says. I had to say. You've listened to what Nicola had to say. Is it right? And I tried to put the question. We didn't seem to kind of get an answer on the actual question. Is it right to use sexual history as evidence in court? Do you want to hear the gory details? Do you want to hear what happened? Or do you think that it's right for the evidence to be put forward? Give me a call. 03459 455 555. You can text 81333 and start your message with 3CR.